everybody? Welcome back to Unlocking Kingdom Hearts, a Kingdom Hearts podcast where we talk about everything we love and don't love about Kingdom Hearts. Today, I'm Cameron Hawkins, your host. Along with me, the usual crew, Jonathon Dornbush, newly hired as editorial content manager at Naughty Dog.
Yes,
Everyone
sir.
give it a round of
One
applause.
of the dogs. One of the dogs. Yes, sir.
Hell yeah.
One of the dogs.
Alexa Ray Korea, writer. Where are you writing that now? You got a new job, didn't you?
Yeah, I can't. I work
You can't
for
say
EA, and I'm.
Yeah,
I
you're
can't
writing
say
for
it.
EA now, though. You're writing for EA now.
I am.
You see, I
Writing
messed it
FIFA.
up. I was like, I knew about Jonathan, and
Writing FIFA.
yours has been like for a few weeks, so I completely went over my head. But congrats to Alexa on her new job as well. Yay!
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And also author of Kingdom Hearts 2 from Boss Fight Books. And lastly, the king himself, creator, and host of PlayStation Source. We got Kevin Diaz.
I
How's it
moved
going,
back
Kev?
into my parents' house. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. You don't have to pay rent. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's good, guys? Been a minute. It's been a while.
It's been a minute, and it's 100% my fault. I haven't had the time to play 358.
No,
but
it's
fine.
it-
But
you
we've
know,
gotten it. No.
we all got
When
equal
we started
blame.
this podcast, we said that, hey, episodes are going to come when they come.
That's
So,
facts.
but we're
That's
here. And Kingdom Hearts 4 ain't coming out anytime soon. We got plenty of time to,
No.
to let this series breathe and take it slow. But we're here, and we're for this episode, we're talking about Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days. The game originally released on May 30th, 2009 for the Nintendo DS. And this is the game that focuses on the organization, Organization 13 or 14, and Roxas, who, we have a small introductory of his character in Kingdom Hearts 2, which, again, I still feel like the story of Kingdom Hearts 2 revolves around Roxas. And I think that the events of what happens in 358 kind of like is like a prologue to that. It's kind of like this nice bridge game of chain of memories going into Kingdom Hearts 2. So you mainly play as Roxas, and then you learn about your friend, like his friendship with Axel, and a brand new character, Xion. First thing I want to go over is just kind of general thoughts on 358 over 2 days. Kev, this is your first time playing through it. And you got through it pretty quickly too, might I add. You were back in July, like, oh, I'm done with 358. I'm like, what? You steamrolled through this. What are your thoughts?
I feel like that was like another game because I know I wanted to beat it before I moved, but I wasn't sure if there was like another game in there as well. I'm not sure, but it was a lot of hours on the flights. The flights helped. Flights to Miami and back definitely help. Beating 358 over 2 days. But overall, no, I mean, I really enjoyed this. This is definitely up there of one of my favorite Kingdom Hearts games so far. And like in a lot of ways, it might be upwards of like the favorite in a lot of ways.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just like really enjoyed like overall, like I felt like as a whole, right? I felt like the story that they told was in a very cohesive, straightforward manner, right? And like I've definitely made a point here where like the other games that we played so far, I haven't been seeing the like crazy claim that it's so confusing to follow these stories and all that. And like definitely there are some confusing elements, sure, but I feel like this had the least amount of it. This may be because it's something that, we can see that it takes place during oh my god. Oh man. I know it's right before Kingdom Hearts 2.
Chain of Memories.
Yeah. It's like the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, Chain of Memories. It goes through for the most part towards the middle section of it for like the majority of the game, and then the end of it leads right into 2. But I just really like this game as a whole. Roxas, I definitely now see the hype, right? Like I didn't quite see it in Kingdom Hearts 2. Like I liked Roxas, but like I just feel like I need to play this game. Yeah. I definitely needed this game to really see like Roxas is definitely like a very tragic character, and like we definitely get into that here in this story. But yeah, no, I definitely really enjoyed it. There's also contextualized the whole organization as a whole as well, right? We got a lot more time with them as well. I'm impressed from a gameplay perspective as well that we'll go over, I'm sure, but just as a summary, like really was impressed that this was running on a DS, right? And what they were able to achieve on this handheld. So good stuff. I definitely enjoyed it. Yeah.
Jonathan, what are your thoughts going back to 358?
It's an interesting one for me because I remember like playing it pretty obsessively when it came out, and it's probably one of the ones I've revisited the least just because, we've talked off air. It's not one of the ones that got the remaster treatment. It's just cutscenes in the collections and everything. So it's one that I haven't like played or thought about playing even for a long time. And so I think to Kev's point, like I do appreciate, I think, how much you realize they were able to accomplish on the DS. That said, it's like, this is a very minor thing, but like it doesn't really use the DS super amazingly. Like it's very much like a good game on the DS. But I appreciate it for continuing, I think, a lot of what the not mobile, excuse me, the handheld games do, which is trying to test out ideas in a lot of different ways. Obviously Chain of Memories tried something very differently. The mission structure here is different. The panel system here is different. You get all these differences. It's exploring a pretty deep into the weeds bit of the lore, I think, at this point, that I enjoy that it does. But I think it uses the time and space to explore different ideas on both a gameplay and a story level. And while not everything is amazing or it excels at everything it tries, I appreciate that that's what these spin-off games, though I know spin-off is not the preferred word for a lot of these, but like the non-numbered games, what they get to do is they get to try things out, they get to test around with it. So I appreciate it for doing that a lot. I will say, I think going back to it, I realized how much it did instill sort of the like love of Axel, like the further cementing of Axel as a character for me, and how much over the series that I came to love him, and how much I appreciated what 358 did with him and Roxas and Xion, and just kind of that trio that, I think people really do love, but we don't get to see them a lot. And unless you happen to have played the DS game, you might not care about that trio in the same way that a lot of other people do. So I do appreciate the spotlight on them. I definitely don't think it's like my favorite or top of the list necessarily, but yeah, I appreciate what it tries to do in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I want to touch upon a few things that you said. Like, I do think that the specifically like the panel system, it very much feels kind of like a prototype to what the deck system is, and what is which is used predominantly in the non-numbered games moving forward, starting with Birthplace Sleep, which is the next game we're going to be playing. And I also really want to touch upon Axel as well, because when you're introduced to him in Chain of Memories, like he's just so charismatic, even without like the lack of like even though I think that his voiced by Quentin Flynn, I think that like he does a great job at like bringing that charisma to his character as well. I think that just from Chain of Memories alone, I was just like, oh, I really like this guy. Like, I really like this character. Like, he doesn't seem... There's always just like I felt like there's always some sort of stigma with all the other organization members going into Chain of Memories, but he was just like the cool guy that was like, just that was there, and like, you find out that he's secretly like a double agent, and like trying to, knowing that there's like this coup that's happening, or attempted coup. And then you get to see this more like tender side of him in 358, right? But at the end, but then also like when you start learning, you start learning the truth about everything, which you kind of get a vibe about throughout the entire game. That Axel knows everything, like leading up to this point. That like you still get, Axel is a very complicated character where like at the end of the day he is still kind of looking out for himself at the end of the day, even though like he does care about these people, like, and it makes me think about moments later in the series where like you really see that character growth from him, which I didn't really think about until I was replaying 358. I was just like, oh, there is this development of Axel and growth of his character, leading, like, moving forward into this series that I didn't really think about until replaying 358. Alexa, what are your thoughts?
Well, I do have to say that until 358 over 2 days came out, I was straight up convinced that Axel and Roxas were like a couple. The way that they like, yeah, like the way they talk about each other, the way they interact together, and the way that in Kingdom Hearts 2, like how fervent Axel is about like trying to get Roxas back, and then finally accepting, like, you know, this is it's part of Roxas's story, and like he is part of Sora. That is his part to play. This is my part to play to ensure that what survives, or basically the vessel of his friend, goes on to survive, which is like really poignant. When I played 358 over 2 days for the first time, I remember finishing it and thinking that I didn't know where Xion fit to just bring her up again in the overall sort of lore. For the first time finishing a game, I didn't have a good sense of where I could maybe guess what this character's purpose in the overall arc was, where they were going, if we were going to see them again, because what ends up happening is she exists and then is forgotten. And so to me, I felt like, okay, this is a standalone game where they needed to provide some character development and time with Roxas and Axel and the organization. So it's an organization, a game. We're in the organization's dorm room doing their thing, or you know, where they live and everything, and they're gone, and we got the character development, and that's it. And the clean way of making sure that this doesn't come back to sort of bite the story in the ass in the future is to have Xion disappear and then everyone forgets her. So I was super shocked when that turned out to not be the case. But to me, this definitely, going back and revisiting it, I kind of see some little bits and pieces now that we've seen the whole series, bits and pieces where there was a little bit of setup. I don't want to spoil this for Kevin. There was a little bit which kind of hinted that she was a bigger piece and more would come back, and that whole struggle for identity that like her story also plays into, along with Roxas's, would actually play out in the long run. And I feel kind of dumb for not trusting Nomura, but definitely seeing all of that in a new light, because this is the first time I've replayed it since finishing 3, which was really cool.
Yeah, and speaking of Nomura, this is the only game in the series where he actually wrote the dialogue for the game. Like normally, like he
it definitely shows
the scenario and the story and things like that, but he doesn't actually write the dialogue. But he did for this one, and you know, I think a lot of people, while they like don't think 358 is like their favorite game in the series, I think that a lot of people see Roxas, Axel, and Xion as like the favorite trio of characters, as that is like an ongoing theme. You know, we got Sora, Riku, Kairi, we got Roxas, Axel, and Xion, and we have another trio coming shortly in the series that, you know, a lot of people really love that story and think it's one of the most well written of the series. You know, that's not the case for me personally. I probably think that Birth by Sleep, which is the next game in the series, is the best story in the series. But I think that's also because of just how much it sets up for how it answers so many questions, and how it like sets up everything for the series moving forward, while still being a prequel. It's like it just does so much, and it does it all so successfully, that I wouldn't agree with that. But like I know some ride or die 358 fans. Like this is like, you know, a lot of people really cherish this game. You know, I know some people that it is their favorite in the series, and I can see why. Like, you know, it is one of those things like, hey, this may not be for me. Like, it may not be the same level of love that I have for it, but like I can see why. I can see the pieces there that make it that prominent. But yeah, let's talk about Xion. Let's talk about this 14th member of Organization 13, and how, like, while what you're saying is true, right? Like Nomura wanted to introduce a character that was new to this game and to this franchise, but still making it self-contained, that, you know, it wasn't going to be a huge hurdle to implement into the story later. And I think that what's interesting about Xion is that, like, she is like, I like it and I don't like it, but I like how she's like the main piece of like the key to Sora waking up, right? Even though that like Roxas also inevitably has to go back to Sora for him to wake up, like this is like a whole like major layer on top of that where she is literally turning into Sora and like taking the memories from Sora and Roxas and like I kind of wish it went like I kind of wish it went a little bit deeper, like in the sense of what would there be more consequences than just Roxas getting weaker and Sora not being able to wake up? Like, would Sora like just become into this husk, right? Would Sora just not really exist anymore unless like like I just wish that they went that like little extra mile, because like right before that final confrontation, right, you know, and they teased it earlier in the game too, to Axel, like she's starting to look like Sora. She's looking like Sora, because of how much he's taken from him. And I just wish it went just like a little bit deeper. I really wish it did that. But you know, it is interesting that like, you know, I did like Xion is, you know, all the organization members are basically like their original names with an X in it. Like Xion is like, she was like, her experiment name was like number I or number 1, and that's why it's called Xion. I don't think you learn that in this game though. I think you learn that either you learn it later in, but it's not a big spoiler. This is something that I'm like, you're not going to be like, damn it, I wish, like, you're not going to get to that point and you're going to be like, damn it, Cam,
why'd you do that?
How dare you? Yeah, exactly. But that's like,
what
you know,
Sora
that's
says as he dies in Kingdom Hearts 3. He says, by the way, her name was that's not how.
Yeah, exactly. And also Xion, I believe, is Japanese for tide, which I believe it just kind of continues that earth, air, water theme that the trios also have. Well, I don't know if that's the case for the Sea Salt trio, but you know, still, that was a big reason why Nomura wanted to go with that name as well. And yeah, I think that Xion is a interesting character, because there's just like a lot that I feel like for a lot of the game, she's just kind of gone and you don't really know what's going on, and it just like plants these seeds across until it just like the last few hours of that game, it's just going off. Like I think arguably more than other Kingdom Hearts games do. Like when you get to Hollow Bastion the second time in Kingdom Hearts 1, like no, this game hits harder than that. Or like when you get to like Twilight Town, like going into the world never once was in Kingdom Hearts 2, like I think it's like on par with that, where it's just like so much is happening that like helps set up the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2, and then also like finishing off this story. Like with Mickey and Riku, which by the way, let's just talk about how Riku is the only motherfucking G in this entire series that Mickey's like, nah, call me Mickey. Don't call me your majesty. I'm just like, yes, like the respect,
he's the
respect that he has for him. Anyway, we stand Riku in this house. But yeah,
Riku's the favorite child.
Exactly. But yeah, Jonathan, let me know your thoughts on Xion.
I mean, sadly, I wish I had more, but I think Alexa really captured it. Of like my first to more recent reaction was after playing the game. I remember as a kid feeling like, oh, I guess she doesn't matter then as much. Like it's just going to kind of be part of this. And so having now the foresight and everything, and again, not spoiling anything, but just knowing a little bit more about the character and where the whole story goes, I appreciate how I think I'm, to tie into what you said as well, Cam, I think how her character matters to Roxas and Axel, but how they allow her to develop as well. Like, I think the strength of this game for me, even more than its like story or lore, like plot wise, for me is the character building that really happens here. And so I think upon revisiting it, I grew to appreciate her place in the story more than I think I gave it credit for initially. I very much was also someone who I wrote it off definitely the first time around. But I think having that understanding, it also maybe like learning more about her and re-experiencing her story in here also made me reappreciate, I think, Roxas's growth, as you were saying, and Axel's growth as well, and just the the way that trio, I think, works for what is arguably a self-contained or a side story to a lot of other stuff, I think is pulled off really well.
Yeah, it was, yeah, I was actually gonna say, like, it, even though it is like a self-contained story, but in the broad scheme of things, like, Xion is just like one of the best MacGuffins in like any any story, because she actually like has this like real purpose in this story, and like how it reflects like how you view, like, especially Kingdom Hearts 2, how you view Kingdom Hearts 2 in a different light, right? Where you think about like all these things are happening and it's just like Xion should be here, but she's not, and it just completely it's a whole change of perspective.
And I think for me, the first time I played it, I only thought of her as the MacGuffin of the game, like as that plot device, and I think replaying it and being a little bit more mature at this point, like seeing I think the character work that happens a little bit more here, I appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah. Alexa, your thoughts on Xion?
It also, to jump back to her journey and Roxas's journey for a moment, it also makes, when you think about Kingdom Hearts 2, makes his journey super sucks, because at every point of his basically at every point in his life, there were factors trying to like basically make sure he didn't exist. Like making Xion made him weaker, trapping him until they could wake up Sora and then putting him back in Sora. Like Roxas had everything basically working against him, and learning that he had to go through this in addition to Kingdom Hearts 2 is like just makes it double sad. For me, something that when I first played the game and going back, I was thinking about this again. Xion is the only Keyblade user in the entire series who doesn't get her own Keyblade. She has the Kingdom Key, which is the default key, and so it made me kind of think about like. And then I like went into the forums and stuff, made me think about what part of Sora she really could be. And so as I was playing the game, I was thinking about like, where did they pull from first? And as she's sort of draining them both of life force, and the fact that she has that Kingdom Key and not another Keyblade just made me sort of like, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but made me sort of evaluate that whole relationship and like how those two sides like work together and stuff. And if Roxas is, if he's fighting for survival, he's very sure of who he is. And Xion is, even the whole time, is not really sure of who she is, even though she's told, like, you're supposed to be Sora. And she has the Kingdom Key. And I'm wondering if maybe the duality that we're seeing there, because this isn't a Mura joint, is, Roxas is Sora's true nobody, but Xion is sort of that uncertain, scared part of himself that took the Keyblade when Riku sank into darkness. And this was sort of Sora's chance. And that's why she only has the Kingdom Key, because that's tied to her identity and who she is. So I spent that whole game having an emotional crisis about her. But also she has, I think probably, I was sitting there, I was like, oh, damn it. Like, I got to write another book. Why not? But got a whole nother one. But also she has the best personal theme, and I think boss fight theme in the entire. Actually, no. There's one in Birthplace I really like, but I think up to this point in the series, she has like one of the best themes and one of the best boss battle themes. They play it at every single Kingdom Hearts concert. It's like Shimomura has made multiple orchestrated versions of it, and there's also a really badass remixed version of it on the Kingdom Hearts 3 soundtrack, which is pretty cool. But yeah.
Yeah. I actually wanted to touch upon something that you said about Xion, and I think that, when you play as Roxas and you're going to the different worlds, and like on the bottom screen, right, when you're doing something just like Sora did in the first game, I always took that as like, that is Naminé working on like restoring those memories to Sora, because that was the choice that Sora made, and that's why he's sleeping, is to restore his memories before Castle Oblivion. And I think that another thing that's interesting regarding what you're saying about Roxas, and like how he's kind of like this character that is just continuously being
beat up.
I don't want to say manipulated, because it's not. I don't think it's really manipulated, but he's just been like not informed. You know, they're purposefully like ignorant on like everything that's going on. And you think about it made me think about Diz a lot, because like the few times that we see Diz in this game, he's like, we don't give a fuck about Roxas, we don't give a fuck about Xion. Like these two like entities need to get out, and Sora needs to like that selfishness, like, you know, because in Kingdom Hearts 2 he's talking about like all the mistakes he's made to Mickey, and like you see it in this game. You see it like his selfishness about like, you know, of his mistakes, and him just like kind of not accepting. Well, yeah, he's accepting his issues, but I'm trying to think of a specific phrase I can't think of right now. He's like kind of like atoning for his sins, right? Like he's kind of atoning for the mistakes that he's made, and I think that like we see a lot of that in the short times that we see him in this game. You know, reflect that. Kev, your thoughts on Xion?
Yeah. No, because there's a lot. Like I thought that, okay, so like it's definitely clear that Roxas is Sora's nobody, right? When that happens in Kingdom Hearts 1, that's how Roxas gets made, right? But with Xion, I thought it was something along the lines of like, wasn't Xion the creation of like the like deepest memories that Sora had? Right?
The Sora's memories. Yeah.
Sora's, right?
Like,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sora, yeah. And like that, I mean, I don't know if like I was looking like a little bit too deep into it or whatever, but like, and maybe it's kind of said here and there, but like, I thought that Xion looked a little bit, not like 1-to-1, but like a little bit like Kairi, right?
Yes.
In like a lot of ways. And so like, I think that was kind of like intentional thing as well. Right. But I also didn't, I mean, obviously like I didn't know that, we're going to see a little bit more of her in the future, you know, because I was under the impression once I beat 358 that like that was kind of just Xion's thing. And like, you know, I know Roxas like forgets her a little bit when she's doing like her death scene, but then Roxas kind of like remembers Xion again when Xion says like we'll always be best friends or something like that, you know. So I'm like, damn, like only like Roxas is gonna know that Xion ever existed. Even Naminé won't even remember her as well. So like I just really enjoyed that, you know, we not only had Roxas going through what he went through in these days and in this game as a whole, and having another entity as well go through a similar journey of like trying to figure out like who they are and like what they are meant to be. And I thought it was really powerful seeing Xion kind of like talk with Naminé and be like, you know what, like I'm gonna just go back into Sora, you know, like I understand, like I think she says a quote of like a puppet has to play her part or something like that, or something to that ilk. And like I just thought that was just like a really cool just overall arc of, you know, seeing Xion grow next to Roxas and like them both come to terms with who they are and all that. And also like, yo, Xion's death scene's shockingly like emotional. Like damn, yo, like oh my god,
who else am I gonna have ice cream with? Yeah,
damn,
dude. Like
that,
that.
I hate to see
that line. That line hits hard, dude. And when you're talking about like Xion looking similar to, you know, having a likeness to Kairi,
right?
And Alexa stepped away for a second, so I like this is regarding to what she was saying, like, you know, I think that she looks a lot like Kairi because of like how meaningful Kairi is to Sora, right? And maybe she does like she can wield the Keyblade because like Kairi is why Sora like fights, right? Like that's why like that's a big part of Sora's motivation. Right? We talk about how, you know, he says my friends are my power and stuff like that. And you Alexa, I'm talking about how you know, Riku mentions on the beach to Xion about how like Kairi is someone very special to Sora, and like maybe that's why Xion looks so much like Kairi, and maybe that's why she can wield the Keyblade. It's because that's like why Sora fights, right? It's for Kairi. Like Kairi is like, you know,
They all do have the same face, all those girls.
Yeah, we never, they never use the word love in this series, but like,
No, they don't.
like they love each other, and it's just like, and that might be the reason why all that stuff regarding Xion is the case. So I don't know, something to stew in the old brain.
I mean, one of my favorite parts in this game is when I think it's just Axel and Roxas, and they like talk about love. And they talk about that concept and like, can we even feel that if we don't have a heart? Like, there's those moments sprinkled across like, not every mission, but a lot of the missions when you go back and have ice cream at the end of it, and like those conversations were like, I really loved like, oh, like what is fear? What is fear? Like what are we doing? Why are we making Kingdom Hearts, right? Like, what does it mean to have a heart, not have a heart? Like stuff like that. Like, I really enjoyed about this game as well. Like, I just feel like this game like was able to, pump the brakes a little bit and like really kind of mellow on these certain aspects within the series that at least I played so far, that I think just gave me a lot of really cool, just concrete context that I think will help moving forward as well. At least for me personally, so.
Yeah, that's the thing that's like interesting about Organization 13 as a whole is like I don't want to say like I don't think of them as villains, but like I also don't think of them as like I don't think of them as misunderstood, but like I also don't think of them as villains in the sense of like that's why I think like Xemnas in the series so far and moving forward is probably the most, in my opinion, the most compelling antagonist, is because like I can understand what he's fighting for. Like, oh yeah, I want to create Kingdom Hearts so I can feel things. I can feel emotion. I can feel, joy, happiness, like anger, like, being a whole person. Like, okay, like no, I get that, and the way you're going about it, probably not the best way in the context of Kingdom Hearts, but like that being the organization's goal at the end of the day, I resonated with that, and it's interesting. It's also interesting to think about like how during this whole time when Sora is sleeping, is that like Roxas and Xion are the ones that are like creating Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
So like this artificial Kingdom Hearts that Xemnas is trying to use. So I thought that was also pretty fascinating too.
It's especially sad when like in later games you kind of learn that like Xemnas' whole deal, like his circumstances are not his fault per se. He was just another byproduct of someone else's decisions, multiple other people's decisions. And so thinking back on what he went through, again, playing Kingdom Hearts 2 and then playing 358 and spending more time with him, you kind of feel a little bad for him, like just a little bit.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like even like in Kingdom Hearts 2, Sora's like tells him to, he kind of like is just puts his guard down and just like this isn't, you don't have to do this, like there's other ways to like figure this out, like and but I think that Xemnas had that sense of like helplessness where like he already went so far, like he's gonna commit to it, and he didn't see another way out of it. So I do think that there's a lot more depth to the organization members than we give credit for at this point in the series, and I think that that's one of the coolest parts of the series, of this game specifically for me, is we get to see that dichotomy in the organization. Like, going into this game, I didn't, even though Psyax is number 6 in the organization, he's the second in command. You know what I mean? He's not, he's the number 2 guy. He's the one giving out the missions. He's the one like doing everything under Xemnas' like command of sorts. And and also just seeing like everyone's positions and like how they feel about each other, like not really like most of the organization don't like each other. Like we saw that in Castle Oblivion in like Chain of Memories, but it was bigger than that, right? And I think that where we like, I wish that, and it also like kind of sets up things for Kingdom Hearts 2. Like a lot of Zaldan's stuff in Kingdom Hearts 2 is set up when, you know, you go to Beast Castle with him and he's like learning about like the Beast and like the Rose. Like that's how he like kind of knows everything going into 2, which is really cool. It does that little like unneeded but extra effort to make things feel more whole, I guess, because it was never something that, like, you know, going to Beast Castle, it was never something that I ever like thought about, like, oh, like, how does he know this, how does he know that? But like this game goes the extra effort to go deeper into those things. Like Demyx is like tied with the Hercules world, and like, you know, that's when you first meet Demyx in Kingdom Hearts 2, and like things like that, that again, like that extra attention to detail that wasn't necessary, but they did, and like, you know, and it was for the better. But another thing I wanted to talk about is Axel and Psyax's relationship in this game.
Oh boy, here we go.
Because we don't, you know, at this point, you don't know a whole lot, especially Kev, you don't know a whole lot. But obviously from what happens, you know, the conversations that are had, and like how Axel is like the one that's always talking to Psyax to like kind of like get him to let Roxas and Xion do what they want.
Right.
There is like history between those characters, and you'll definitely get to see more of that. And you might have missed this. There's like a second where Psyax calls Axel Lee.
Oh, I actually don't.
And
really,
yeah, there's a point where Psyax calls Axel Lee. And
so would it be LEA?
LEA, yes.
LEA.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So like, you know, that is, as we've talked about in the past, and like how nobody's in the organization's name work, that is Axel's whole person's name. Like
whole person name
before he was a nobody, he was Lee.
God.
His somebody's name.
His somebody's name.
His somebody's name.
Yeah. And
I
so,
think.
Go ahead.
No, I was like, I think that relationship, like the Axel and the Psyax relationship, I feel like that you know how we're always talking about like who hurt Nomura, like saw like something clearly happened. He had with a friendship or a relationship or something that has spawned all of this. I feel like that's the relationship. I feel like that is the closest thing we're gonna get to the story of who hurt Nomura is those two's relationship. Yeah, you have to play through the whole series.
I mean, we are leaping into the series right now, and I don't want to go that far. But
I feel like that's it.
But yeah, you'll get to learn more about Axel and Psyax in Birth by Sleep. I'll say that.
Oh, okay. So next up, okay, cool.
Next up, yeah.
Cool.
So you don't have to wait much longer about that, but you'll also get some teases into Birth by Sleep with Zigbar, and when he's fighting Xion, and he sees someone else who looks like Roxas for some reason, but is dressed differently. You know, and who's this person that looks like Roxas? Why is he dressed like this? Find out when you play Birth by Sleep. You'll find out when you play Birth by Sleep. That's all I'll say.
I think I have a guess.
Birth by Sleep answers so many questions, dude.
Okay.
So many questions in the best ways.
Because I remember I forgot which secret ending. I think it was one of them for Kingdom Hearts 2 that you had me watch, Cam.
Yes.
Where it was that like
someone that looked very like
out there, in that like suit thing. Okay.
Are they the same person? Who knows?
Okay, interesting.
There could be 3 people.
I will say
that look like Roxas.
There's all Roxas. I will say, like, Birth by Sleep will answer a lot of questions for you, but the pain of playing it with all those questions, like you're going to start it and you're immediately going to be like, why, what is this, what? And that's just going to sit with you for the next 28 hours. So hang in there.
I don't know how other people feel about this, and I probably, I don't know, I might get some flack for it, but I think that Birth by Sleep is the Revenge of the Sith.
Yep. No, you're right. You're correct. You are correct.
Okay, that's a pitch. Okay, that's a pitch. Okay,
there's a lot of like, and because Kingdom Hearts 1, like if you think of it in that perspective, Kingdom Hearts 1 very much feels like A New Hope. It really does.
Yep.
Right.
So, and you know, Kingdom Hearts 2, Empire Strikes Back. I mean, not the same story, but it is the GOAT. So
right, yeah.
But yeah, so it's just like. That's something to think about. But again, I don't want to dig too deep in Birth by Sleep because there's gonna be a lot to unpack in that episode. But what I wanted to say, just bring that up, like there is a tease there, setting up some stuff with Birth by Sleep, and also like I'm not gonna say what, but there were a few moments with Zigbar for Jonathon and Alexa who know Zigbar like and his role moving forward.
Yeah.
There were some droplets there. There were some seeds there, and I was just like, oh man, they like Nomura knew this early. This early he was planting those seeds, and like in Nomura we trust, man. Like that's all I can say.
358 was where it started. I feel like in Kingdom Hearts 2 it was like, oh, this guy's a dick, okay. But 358 is where I think it really started. Again, going back and playing it, that's where he started really kind of layering that in.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So pay attention to that guy.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like probably like from here on out, because after I beat 358, I'm like, damn, I really want like Kingdom Hearts 2 again. You know, like I feel like I feel like there's probably gonna be more of that where like, you know, once you start really getting history and all that, and like yeah. So I bet like hypothetically, if I do a second playthrough of everything, you know, I bet that's gonna be like entirely different, like overall.
Kingdom Hearts 2 introduced teased some stuff for Birth by Sleep as well. You know, there's the lingering will boss fight that's connected to Birth by Sleep. And there's also when Xemnas goes to that chamber in Kingdom Hearts 2 and finds some armor that just chilling there. That was also teased to Birth by Sleep. And I think I would say it would not be a bad idea to play Kingdom Hearts 2 again after Birth by Sleep because you're gonna get a little bit more out of it.
Interesting. Okay.
Or play the whole series and then go back and play it again.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I don't know.
Let's just run it all the way back. Let's go.
So I wanted to talk about some of the gameplay, right? So basically, in 358, you're basically sent on missions to go to different worlds. Some of them, which are, I believe, they're all based off of Kingdom Hearts 1's worlds. So like we got Alice in Wonderland. We got Neverland, which was its own thing, right? It was just a bunch of like different like
islands,
rock islands and stuff. Yeah, that was what that was. We got Agrabah, Halloween Town. What else did we get? I'm missing one.
Oh my gosh.
Olympus Coliseum.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that the missions are cool. I like how they have the freedom of letting you like have like, okay, here's your mandatory missions. If you want to do more, you can, but if not, you can advance the story. That was really nice. And I think that the panel system was, again, like a really cool, albeit cumbersome at times, prototype to what the next kind of the deck system, which they introduced in Birth by Sleep. What are you guys' thoughts on the panel system? Kev, you said that you were really liking the gameplay elements. I'm curious as to your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I just ended up just like really enjoying the panel system, right? And like just like gameplay as a whole early on. I think I had wait, if I open my 3DS. Yeah, I had my camera to the thumbstick initially, right?
Okay.
And that wasn't working for you, boy. I was like, oh man,
yeah,
I don't know about this one. So I found once the game, because you have to progress a little bit to unlock the menu to change certain elements of the game itself. So when I tied it to the left and right buttons on the back of it, that's when the game really felt a lot better to play on the sticks, like a lot better for me. So
interesting.
That helped a lot. Yeah. That I thought was a way better way to keep, combat going while also, being able to look around the environment itself. So that really helped a lot. And just, I really like the panel system. Like I've seen and played like other games that use something similar to that, right? Just having, inventory take up physical space in your actual total amount of inventory in different shapes and all that, kind of like a Tetris type thing. But I really like the elements of like having things stacked and stuff like that, and playing around with that and all that. Thought that was really fun, and just overall like worked. And I was afraid when I saw 3 pages, I thought that it was something like Chain of Memories where it was gonna be like different like classes of like different sets of, I think it was 30 a page. That's what I thought, but I really liked that. It was it was just building up upon your whole thing. Like you still have access to all 3 pages, right? It's just more storage. Like it's not like a different class. That's what I was afraid about, but was not the case. And just from a gameplay perspective as a whole, like really shocked that it felt very close to the combat in like the console games,
Really? Okay.
That's what I felt. Obviously it was not 1-to-1, and like, maybe you squint a little bit. It's like, yeah, like, that's the console Kingdom Hearts, right? But like, I think once I got the hang of it, and once I was like, listen, like, this is a 3DS, right? And like, we're still moving in like a 3D space, and we're still, being able to lock on the targets and all that, and just, do Keyblade combat like I've done in the past games. I thought it worked. Obviously, from a frames perspective, like it's, sub 30 a lot of times, right? But like overall, like I thought for what I think on paper, right? If it was like, yeah, we're gonna try and make the combat as close to the console version as possible, that could have gone way worse than what we got. I actually like ended up like really enjoying it for what it was, even though obviously like it wasn't perfect and everything, but definitely enjoyed it for sure. So yeah, that was and like last thing I'll say, just from an overall mission structure perspective, I love Peace Walker, right? I love Crisis Core, right? So like that like style of, quick missions, right? With story in between and all that, like that just really works for me overall. Like really love that cadence and having it be where, you can gauge, okay, hey, I have, to board my flight in 15 minutes, whatever, I can do a day in 3:58 really quick, and like just have that done and everything. And like, I really do enjoy that cadence of, missions that certain, handle. Yeah. For me, like it just really worked for me. So I definitely enjoyed the mission structure as well. So definitely enjoyed it. Yeah.
Alexa, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna grill Kevin on a point he just made. So I'm one of the things that I hear a lot, having tried to convince everyone in my life to play Kingdom Hearts. A barrier of entry for a lot of people is they come off the console game and they don't want to play any of the handhelds or the side games because they're using a deck-based system, the panel system, like it's not an action combat system. So when you say they're similar, I would love, or you feel like they're similar, is it like, I don't know, I'd love to hear you talk about that a little more, explain it a little more. Did you find it jarring? Like, because for me, like, I feel like they feel super different. But if you're saying that they feel very similar, that can convince everyone listening to this podcast who's not going to play through 58 because of the combat system to give it a shot.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, I just honestly just feel like it, like, when you take, obviously, Kingdom Hearts 2 is still top on gameplay. I'm not trying to say it's, not, because it definitely is, right? But like, you know what I'm saying? No, 100% is, right?
Like,
so like that's like far and away cream of the crop, right? But like, I just think like overall what it could have been, and like definitely that like first fight, right? It's like, oof, okay, they're doing it. Like,
yeah, the first fight's oof. Yeah,
yeah, it's like okay, like there's like definitely like a okay, this is what it is, right? But like I don't know, I just think I just got really used to it, right? And I think what really does help, at least for new players to this game, definitely mess around with the control schemes, because I thought controlling on the left and right buttons for the view a lot easier to manage, a lot easier to be able to do gameplay on this console like this, right? That's what I would say. And like, you know, I honestly just felt like it was like a very, because it's still of a third person perspective, right? And you know, you still have your basic keyblade attacks and all that, and you're able to do not everything that you're able to do in the main core games. Not that this isn't the main core game, but not all the console iterations, right? I just felt like you were able to do a lot of things that I would not have thought you were able to do if you told me that they were gonna try and match as close as possible on the 3DS. You know, I just thought that like it actually works out. You know, if you know, you just gotta just definitely that first mission is gonna be like a big, you know, a nice full shot of tequila. Like, yo, that's gonna bite a little bit, but you know, once you get used to it, I just feel like it all worked out. And even things like, you know, being able to still, you know, roll and dodge, right? Like that's, you know, something that is not that deep, but when you think about it, you know, this was a 2009 3DS game. Like I was like, you know, that. Or the 3DS wasn't even out at that point, right? It was probably
it's original DS.
Yeah,
it's the original DS.
Yeah. So it's even.
There is a 3DS Kingdom Hearts
Frame drop distance is coming. It's coming.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet.
But yeah,
we got a few more games to go.
Yeah, like definitely. I felt like I, you know, was I was thankful that I actually played it. I didn't just watch it, you know, like I ended up really enjoying the combat and the battles and all that, you know what I'm saying? So Cam was right. He's like, Kev,
I told people.
You gotta get 3DS.
I'm curious as to how you're gonna feel about Coded, because Coded is one of those things.
I hear Coded is like a no.
Oof.
Like
a big oofs. Okay. We'll see.
Big oof.
It's complicated, but like, yeah, Coded is the worst in the series. Like in the series, that isn't a mobile game, if you ask me. So, but anyway, I'm kind of in the middle ground with what Alexa and Kevin are saying. Like, there are things about the gameplay that I like, specifically the combat, and I agree. Like, there are certain things that they do pull off in the gameplay that I didn't think that they would. Like that the DS would be able to do from like a hardware perspective, like when you get Roxas's final limit and like all the beams are coming across, like, you know, kind of like from what Roxas's boss fight is in Kingdom Hearts 2. It's just like, you know, it's pretty flashy, you know, like there's a lot of stuff going on to a degree that I didn't expect that they would go that far. But also like, I don't like how instead of just giving us different keyblades, they have this gear system. Because like you couldn't like extend your combos. It was just like these are the combos that this gear does.
Right.
Like you can get like you can get like an ability unit, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
And like for certain gear, you can like do like a different thing to extend it longer, but like that's it. Like that's as far as it goes. And I just wish that there was a little bit more variety there. But yeah, and like there were some, and I feel like there was a point in the game, like around like day in the early 200s, where there's just like a pretty like significant difficulty spike where I'm just like, whoa, this got like even with like definitely with upgrading like my gear, you know, I had the same gear for the longest time and I switched to like one of the most powerful gears available at the time. I was the Leech Grave boss fight in Halloween Town, the coffin. That boss fight was ridiculous. I was like,
no, sir.
I that was the for only time in the game I had to withdraw and be like, okay, I gotta like do other stuff and come back to this.
Yeah.
And even then, I had like it took me several attempts with all my upgraded stuff to beat that boss. And I was just like, Jesus Christ! Like the Infernal Engine gave me some troubles at Beast Castle, like a little bit, but like.
That was the first one that got me.
Yeah, that was the first definitely.
Yeah, I was like,
that was definitely the first challenging one.
Yep.
That wasn't just kind of like, you know, but another thing I take issue with is like, and you know, Kingdom Hearts Lock On isn't perfect in any sense, but like in this one, like you'd be locked on someone, and it would still be like a 50-50 chance if you'd actually hit them. And I'm
that's
like,
fair. Yeah, that's fair.
What's going on here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're right next to them. It's just like, you miss. I'm like, but how? You know? So it's just...
I'm locked on.
Yeah, exactly. It's just one of those things, like, there are elements that you can tell that the hardware affected the gameplay in negative ways that, you know, I think that when you play... Because Birth by Sleep, right, originally released on the PSP, like, you know, it's not I would say like a massive significance in power and capabilities. I would still say it's significant enough, but like, you know, the only real issue I had with like Birth by Sleep was like some certain loading things with like the shot lock mechanic that is introduced in Birth by Sleep. Like you get not the shot lock. What is it called?
Oh God.
Oh,
when you fill up the bar and then you have like the
y'all
know what I'm talking about, right?
I do.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't know what it's called. Oh, we're fake fans right now.
Please don't hurt us. We're tired.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to see. I'm trying to see if I can find it like really quickly.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, you know what I'm talking
about. I
about.
feel like an idiot.
And basically, there's like a loading section where you have to like change into that form, and like on the PSP it's literally just showing you frozen loading for like 15 seconds on the PSP, but like, you know, so there are aspects that are affected there too, not really anymore because they've been remastered and put on modern hardware, but you know, like these handhelds in these earlier games do like have that negative drawback to them, you know, which is kind of why I wish these games, like I can get in a sense why these games were on like handheld like hardware, because they feel like they are smaller experiences. Birth by Sleep I disagree with, but like the other ones, they are smaller experiences compared to like a traditional Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and 3. But you know, if they were on, you know, current console hardware, then there would have been more potential for like not having these problems. But Jonathan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it has been said, but it's one of those things where I think knowing it as a product of its time, like, you know, even just coming to that like collective realization of like, oh, it's not even a 3DS game, like it is a DS game. It is very like of its era for sure in a lot of ways. And I think I very much understand, especially now having revisited it, where Kevin is landing in terms of like, I think a pretty solid approximation of Kingdom Hearts on mobile, on handheld at that point in time with its power and all of that. I definitely think it's designed with that console in mind. Like I think everyone, the highlights that have been talked about of the sort of like bite-sized nature of it, I think of the way that it approaches its structure and even approaches its combat and some of the systems in it are with the DS in mind. So I think it takes advantage of that stuff well. But at the same time, I'm with you. Like it bums me out that it didn't even get a remaster on the collection, because I would have liked to see this game a little bit more punched up, a little bit more on a technical level. Because I do think, you know, we've talked a lot about the story side, and I think there's so much great stuff there. I wish as a full product it got a little bit more of a bigger standing, but I also understand why what could be argued as a side story about 3 characters who are not the main characters of the marquee titled numbers doesn't get that. Like I get it from like a business standpoint, but I do think it works, and I'm glad to have revisited it, but I can also understand how it could be a hurdle for some people. And I guess it's an apples to oranges comparison, but I think like Chain of Memories as a mobile game and that card system, it goes so off in the distance. Like it tries something so different that I think it ends up working better on a handheld than this, which feels like it's trying to be more base Kingdom Hearts on handheld. And so I think it loses a little bit as a result of that, but I still think it has some stuff to admire there.
That's fair. I did like want to ask, like, I think Jonathan, you like kind of hit it there, but like, is that the reason why this didn't get any type of like remaster for modern hardware? Like, was it just because like, is this the most like kind of beaten off the path Kingdom Hearts? Like, no. You know, like I'm just curious, like, as to like, because like this seems pretty integral. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. You know?
Yeah. Like,
so, or was it just like it just didn't happen? You know? I don't know.
So 2 things. Like, 1, command style. That's what it's called in Birth by Sleep. I found it.
Second thing. Yeah.
Yes.
I would say Coded is the most like
out there one. Like
okay. Coded is borderline unnecessary. Like I will say that, like, as someone who loves Kingdom Hearts, like, and I still think everyone who plays through the series for the first time should play it just to be able to say like, hey, I played it. It is the most borderline unnecessary because like, and this isn't even a spoiler. Like, this really isn't a spoiler. What it is basically is you are decrypting Jiminy's journal from the thank nominee message and stuff like that from the first Kingdom Hearts journal. That is what that game is.
Okay,
that's
wait, that sounds kind of dope. Damn, that's a bad game though.
No, it's not dope.
Like,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, that game was
an intervention before you even play.
That game was originally a mobile flip phone game. It was originally a mobile flip phone.
Yeah, like an episodic one too, right?
And then it got remade for DS.
It is so.
And
don't get excited.
It does some interesting things with the gameplay. Like each world you go to, well, not every world you go to, but like a lot of the worlds you go to, like there's different like combat. Like the combat's different, but like that's really all you get from that game.
It feels like a game that Square Enix got funding for mobile games at the time, and they needed an idea, and this happened to work. But like they knew.
Hey, you're exactly correct.
Yeah, they knew it wouldn't be played by everyone, especially back in the mobile version. So I think it loses a lot of story there. I think for this one, in terms of it not getting a full remaster, it's probably more a technical thing because Chain of Memories is benefited by having. Even though it's a worse version, it has the PS2 remake, and so that's easier for them to port in the remasters than this DS game was. And
I also think, and I also think that like based off how the collections work, there was like 1.5, 2.5 originally. They didn't release as one thing until PS4. They originally came out as 2 separate bundles on PS3, and basically it just knowing that like Coded, they like even Square's not going to be like, we're gonna port this to PS3. No, so like it just made more sense that they would also do 358 and just do the cutscenes for each one, and then have like Kingdom Hearts 1, Chain of Memories, and then Kingdom Hearts 2, Birth by Sleep as the playable ones, because it just like when you play Birth by Sleep, you're gonna be like, wow, this was a PSP game. Like this runs really, like this is really good for a PSP game. Like I would say personally that like not trying to be trying to be a little bit more objective and remove my bias of Kingdom Hearts. I still think that Birth by Sleep is probably like top 5 best PSP game that came out. Like there's like Birth by Sleep, Peace Walker.
It came out the same year as Crisis Core, didn't it?
Yeah, Crisis Core. Like those are probably the top 3 right there, in my opinion. Yeah. But I'm not trying to like start any sort of argument, but I do think that the Birth by Sleep, like they did a great job with that. Again, with some small stipulations that you really could just easily get over, especially because you're going to be playing the remaster, where they basically get rid of all those things. That like you're gonna be like, oh, I get why they remastered this and they didn't remaster these.
Okay.
Like it's a wide jump in Like I think Birthplace Sleep from a gameplay perspective is the second most fun in the entire series so
That's
far.
what I like to hear.
Like after Kingdom Hearts 2.
Absolutely.
And it's not even a numbered game. So like
but it is a main game.
But oh yeah. yeah, it's not it's Kingdom Hearts 0. That's what it is. But yeah, I think that I think the gameplay is more than competent. It's just, you can just tell that the hardware just wasn't there for it. And they could only do so much, but like I still think that they did a good amount, Yeah.
Also, shout out to like some of like the maps I thought were actually really impressive for a DS game as well. Like just the amount that they were able to fit in. Yeah, like there's a lot of segmented loading zones and all that, right? Like in one world you can have a few of them, right? Like even on Twilight Town, right? Like when you're trying to go through that map, like there's definitely a lot of loading zones for sure. But I still think that like it was cool that they got,
yeah, a
lot of it is like almost 1-to-1, and like I remembered these off of Kingdom Hearts 2 and stuff like that. At least, the ones that were in that game. Like I thought the maps were overall like really, really well done. Yeah, like
Twilight Town is literally
that's pretty much 1-to-1, right? Yeah,
outside of the mansion, I think. So it's just like, but still, like that's very impressive for the DS.
Right.
But yeah, so do we have any closing thoughts on 358 over 2 days? Again, like I think
play it.
Go ahead. Oh
play
yeah,
it.
Play it. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Good.
Again, I do think that I get the idea of it being like feeling like its own self-contained story, but also being integral to the overarching story at the same time. Again, there is a fan base. Like I feel like the most hardcore fan, like Kingdom Hearts fans, are the people that pray like that, like ride or die 358. Like I don't know, just through my experience, like that, like people that Kingdom Hearts fans that make me feel like I'm just like a nobody, not trying to be play on words there, but like when it comes to the series, they're just like hardcore Roxas, Axel, and Xion, and I respect that a lot. And I also like we didn't talk about it a whole lot, but I do like how they give us a little bit more on Riku and like how it sets up like how he goes on his own path, and it's just like, hey, I am not handling this darkness shit very well. Like I'm actually struggling really bad, and but I'm trying to figure this out. Because there is like this sense of optimism at the end of Chain of Memories, and then we just get to Kingdom Hearts 2, and then like he's Ansem for some reason, and then and then like this game just kind of covers that base of just like, oh no, I'm struggling. I'm like trying to figure this out. And I also like how there's this moment where I think it was like Xion saying like, why don't you like take me in or anything like that? And he's just like, I don't know. Like basically like he just like, she reminds him of like, Sora and Kai, like his friends, that he's just like, I can't do that to you. Like that, it kind of feels like a way to just set up Roxas and Xion fighting, but also it does fit his character too. I really, really like that. But yeah, Riku continues to be GOAT. Alexa, your thoughts? Final thoughts?
I'm just, Kevin, do you feel like, my final thought was a question, sorry. Do you feel like you understand now everything about the organization and what's the Ansem Xemnas connection and stuff like that? Do you feel like you understand like that and the nobody heartless connection? Like, are you in a good place this far in the series?
Yeah.
I think
yeah. What are your questions?
My questions.
Like we're here to answer them.
I'm not sure if I have any, and like I think like also like a segment of this, like why like I can't come up with like immediate questions right now, right? I'll I'll blame it on me. I have really bad memory sometimes. You know, like I'll like play a game, love it, but I can't tell you beat for beat.
Hey,
a
you're
week
not
after I'm done. You know, like
you're
is
not
what it is,
confused.
Right?
So
Yeah,
that's a good sign, right? You're not confused
like
yet.
I don't think I'm confused. Like I feel like I was able to fully digest and understand what this game was, right? My thing is, I mean, what you guys brought up, where like I kind of thought that, you know, we had seen like Xion's end game here, right? So I'm very curious to see like how she is brought up in the future as well. You know, my assumption is maybe through Roxas, right? Like I said, where it seemed like, you know, Naminé says that, hey, everyone's gonna forget you, right? And then Roxas like briefly does forget her, but then recalls her, you know, when she's fully gone as well, right? So like, I'm curious about that, right? So maybe that might be something, you know. But yeah, I mean, right now, like I'm just really curious to see like what happens next. I've been very curious for like a good 2 months now. Like, yo, like I'm just trying to, you know, play. I'm trying to just
Yo,
get
you're gonna start Birthplace. Like, I legitimately think Birthplace Sleep. You're gonna be coming into this episode being like, I have questions that I need answered.
Okay.
I really do because for us, right? We played Kingdom Hearts 2 right when it came out, right? And that, again, I said on the Kingdom Hearts 2 episode, that secret ending was like MCU like post-credit scenes before those were a thing. Like people were, if you were on like forums or just like any part of Kingdom Hearts internet at that time, it was just people just trying to figure out what any of that was, and just like trying to get all these theories going and everything like that. And then we got 358 and we're like, okay, this is cool, but this is not what we want at the time. And then Birth by Sleep came out, and like when I tell you it answers every question, every single question you have, like at this point in the series, it answers all of them. It answers all of them. It does, you know, introduce new questions, but like it answers all of them, and it does it so well. And like you, like, there's so many things that you didn't even know, like at this current time, that is a thing. You find out is a thing in Birth by Sleep.
Okay, that's like, what I was kind of gonna ask. Like, is there any thing that you all like are wanting me to look out for, but also not be spoilery about it? But also, like, do I just go in and just, hey, you know, am I just going to, like, is it more fun to me? Like, is it gonna be more enjoyable for me to go in and get the answers to questions that I don't even know yet?
So here's some things that I'll say without getting into spoilers. I think that more than ever, you'll understand why me and Alexa champion Riku so hard.
Okay, bet.
After playing Birth by Sleep.
Bet.
I think you'll understand why Sora is the main character of this series after you play Birth by Sleep.
What?
You'll learn a lot of things.
Okay.
A lot of things.
Yep.
A lot of things.
Interesting.
And those are the things that, like, because again, like, Birth by Sleep takes place 10 years before Kingdom Hearts 1.
Oh, so, I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is a prequel. This is Kingdom Hearts 0.
Yeah.
That's why I say it's like Revenge of the Sith, because it's basically like, it sets up like the first Kingdom Hearts game and beyond, and like it just answers so many questions. Some things that like we've been wanting to know, some things that you didn't even know were a question that needed to be answered, and it does it all in spades incredibly well. It's a phenomenal game. It's like, yeah, it's in my top 10 favorite games of all time, alongside Kingdom Hearts 2 being my first. Like, there's a reason for that. And it's mainly because of the story.
Yep. This game came out, and this was
2010.
I think it was 2010. And for most Kingdom Hearts fans, this was like the holy shit, oh my god, like this was the linchpin. This was when everything sort of like really started. This is when the world, like the universe of Kingdom Hearts, really opened up. Like, we talk about all these new Star Wars properties and making the universe bigger and like adding to IP. This was the thing that added to the Kingdom Hearts IP that made the world so big and answered and set up so many things about like how like it's sort of like mythology works and all that stuff. But again, like this came out in 2010, and then 2 years later we got Dream Drop Distance on 3DS, and then nothing until we got Fragmentary Passage in 2017.
Wow.
So like this was the, and I have a lot of strong feelings about Kingdom Hearts 3D. I will save them for that podcast. But this for me at least was like the last big Kingdom Hearts game until we got 3. This was like the last big thing that gave answers and didn't just generate more questions. So this is a hugely pivotal part in the series, in the story overall.
And even like post Kingdom Hearts 3, this sets up like it doesn't set up per se, but it is like it is the first seed of like a lot of things that are set up to Kingdom Hearts 3 and beyond going into Kingdom Hearts 4.
Interesting.
It's also the first game to, I know we've dealt with, Roxas and Xion and Nobody's and ideas of identity and stuff, but this is the first game that for me kind of really introduced the concept of despair and futility and like a really different, deeper level of struggle beyond identity, beyond memory, like something much, much deeper and a lot more sinister.
Yeah.
So things get a lot darker here, literally.
Yeah, this is the point where like it just feels evil. Like there's just there is actual like evil entities that are the threat in this game and in this series, and like because again we talked about earlier like how some of these other members in 358 and even later in the series you get a sense of like you feel bad for them, that like they're not completely terrible people, but Birth by Sleep introduced people that are just they are evil. They are bad people, and their motives like at the I don't want to say anything more. But like they are like definitely the baddest of the bad in the series. That's what I'll say. So far.
This is where you confront, I think, for the first time in the series, what you could think of as truly bad, like truly evil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very intriguing.
Yeah. At least up to this point in the series, maybe later you'll feel differently. Who knows? But we'll talk about that next time. Jonathan, any closing thoughts?
I just didn't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, I know we were trying to. I want to give you something, Kevin.
No, totally.
And for the listeners to like be excited about, but also I was just like I didn't want to go too far.
I hear you.
Yeah,
I hear you.
I would just say, like to Alexa's point, if you can play 358, because I do think it's worth it. I do think it's worth seeing the story play out as it does in the manner it does, and I really appreciate having seen kind of how introspective and to a certain degree somber and serious this one gets, in a way that I think, again, I didn't appreciate when I was younger and was like, I'm getting a new Kingdom Hearts game, great, and it was like, oh, this gets real dark, this gets real serious in ways I didn't come to expect. But I think it's a really great one. I definitely recommend it. But yeah, we're gonna have a lot to talk about next time. And I have a fun story about how, despite Birth by Sleep coming out in 2010, I didn't beat it until many years later.
Fine, that's fine. I had to borrow a friend's PSP and then another friend's copy of Birth by Sleep to play Birth by Sleep when it came out.
Nice.
That was a weird conversation to have. But yeah. So next up is again Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the episode, but you want to make sure that you play the secret and final episode after the game's over, because that isn't like a cutscene or anything. Those are actual boss fights, actual story things are happening. You can look up a guide as to how you want to unlock those episodes. it's basically based off of whatever difficulty you choose. But definitely make sure you have the knowledge, even if you decide that you don't want to do those, like, which I still recommend you should. Watch a YouTube video of someone playing through those episodes, because they're super important for the story, and all that good stuff. But yeah, Jonathan, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at jmdornbush.
Alexa?
I am on Twitter at Alexa Ray C and on Instagram at Alexa Ray. It's just pictures of my dog, though.
And we should also say right now that by the next episode, you'll be married. Yay!
Congratulations.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Maybe if we don't record before the 31st.
When's your wedding? It's in October, right?
October 31st.
Oh, you're definitely getting
Oh,
married
nice.
before we record that episode. Yeah, you're definitely getting married. So yay! Congrats, Alexa.
Yay! I
We
did
love
it.
We love it.
Nami, Simo. Anyway, and Kev, where can people find you?
Due to the comments Blazing Source, a lot of Last of Us Part 1 coverage, and obviously we're going into Ragnarok time. Road to Ragnarok incoming. A lot of God of War content up on the pipeline for that. And Twitter at the KDS123, you can see my lower third, or at PS Source Vids as well for PlayStation Source and all that fun stuff. So, indeed.
Nice. And you can follow me on Twitter at CamFinalMix. And whenever I do stream, I'm on twitch.tv/CamFinalMix as well. So that's it. That's 358 over 2 days. Next up, we have Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Final Mix. But until next time, may your heart be your guiding key.